This is Steve Brewer for Country Classics. My special honored guest this week played the famous role of Marshal Matt Dillon on the longest-running television Western series, Gunsmoke, which ran on CBS for 20 years. Yes, I'm speaking of the big man himself, Mr. James Arness. Mr. Arness, welcome to Country Classics.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here talking to you.
Thank you. And one of the reasons I had invited you here today to share with our listeners about the big gala for your favorite charity, United Cerebral Palsy, that will be taking place this Sunday, March 30th, at the Beverly Hills Hotel in California. And we'll talk more about that toward the end of the interview.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay. Now, I see, Mr. Arness, you are from originally Minneapolis, Minnesota.
That's right.
And you are of German and Norwegian descent.
This is correct. I actually worked on a radio station there before I came out to Hollywood.
I see. And also that you are the older brother of fellow actor Peter Graves.
That's right, too. You bet. He changed his last name when he came out here.
Was that so the public wouldn't get you too confused?
I think so.
I see. Okay. I also wanted to salute you as a veteran who served during World War II with the U.S. 3rd Infantry Division. And you... Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right, Steve.
And you were severely wounded, I see, during Operation Shingle, leading to a lifelong slight limp.
Well, that's true. I did get a serious wound there. I was in the hospital for a year and a half, and it still bothers me some. I'm 85 now, and from time to time, it's hard to walk like I used to and things like that, you know.
Right. Would you mind, if you can, recounting that interesting story of how your squad, the 2nd Platoon, Company E, 2nd Battalion, 7th Infantry, engaged an enemy machine gun in a farmhouse? Can you recall that?
I certainly do.
Okay.
It was a day that we were pinned down by a sort of a German machine gun nest in a farmhouse. And myself and another guy were ordered to go up there and try to get up the stairs, which in those Italian farmhouses was usually... That was the day, and we had to get up there, and it was no fun. We got up there and fired in there, and, that was it. We fortunately prevailed on that instance and got back down.
It sounds like a Gunsmoke episode there. Marshal Dillon moving in.
Right. That's for sure.
And I really found this interesting. Due to your height, at the time 6 feet 7 inches, acting as a depth finder, you were first ordered off your landing craft to determine the depth of the water, and it had come up to your waistline.
Yes, that's true too, Steve. They ordered me that we were on an LCI, and they have these ramps that lower down into the water, and they made me go off first. They said if I went in over my head, they'd have to land somewhere else.
Yeah, I see. Also, you received the Bronze Star, I see, the Purple Heart, the European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 3 Bronze Campaign Stars, the World War II Victory Medal, and the Combat Infantryman Badge. Wow, you were really a decorated veteran there, I see.
My goodness, well, you certainly did your homework there. I do have those medals, and they're precious to me and my family. I want to pass them down to the next generation when I go,
Yes, and I salute you, sir, as a veteran. Yeah. Now we'll kind of move on into your acting career, and tell us how you got out of the service. What led you to Hollywood, I guess, more or less to say?
Well, I went back home when I was discharged from the Army. I went back to Minneapolis. And as I say, I sort of fell into a deal. Somebody just said I had a good speaking voice or something. I don't know about that. But I got a job as a radio announcer. And I worked there for several months. But then a friend of mine came home from the Navy, and this was just around Christmas. And there was about 6 feet of snow on the ground there, and so we were having dinner downtown, and he said to me, he knew somebody from California who'd been in the Navy, and he said, we ought to head out to L.A. there. This is crazy to be sitting around in just blizzards and stuff. So that's what we did, and we came out here. And it was wonderful, you know, walk around in your shirt sleeves at night and stuff, and it was great. Been here ever since.
And that was some 60 years ago, I guess, I'm guessing.
Pardon?
And I guess that was some 60 years ago we're talking about, right? Probably.
That was 1946 that I arrived out here.
Over 60 years then.
Yeah,
wow.
60.
Wow. Though primarily identified with Westerns, you appeared in 2 science fiction films, The Thing from Another World and Them. And I, as a kid, remember seeing that, The Thing from Another World, and that was probably the scariest movie at the time I had ever seen. You did a good job playing that alien.
Well, thank you, Steve.
Being a close friend at the time with John Wayne, you co-starred with him in a few films, like Big Jim McLean, Hondo, Island in the Sky, and The Sea Chase.
That's right.
And
I was actually, Steve, under contract to his company for about 3 years.
I see. And
just prior to Gunsmoke.
Okay. And it's reported Wayne said that when he imagined Marshall Dillon, he saw you, Mr. Arness, and Wayne even did a television show spot introducing you in the role. We're going to hear that right now.
Oh, wonderful.
Good evening. My name's Wayne. Some of you may have seen me before. I hope so. I've been kicking around Hollywood a long time. I've made a lot of pictures out here. All kinds. And some of them have been Westerns. And that's what I'm here to tell you about tonight, a Western. A new television show called Gunsmoke. No, I'm not in it. I wish I were, though, because I think it's the best thing of its kind that's come along. I hope you'll agree with me. It's honest, it's adult, it's realistic. Well, when I first heard about the show Gunsmoke, I knew there was only one man to play in it. James Arness. He's a young fella and maybe new to some of you, but I've worked with him and I predict he'll be a big star. So you might as well get used to him like you've had to get used to me. And now I'm proud to present my friend Jim Arness in Gunsmoke.
Gunsmoke, starring James Arness as Matt Dillon.
And there you have it. And that was, some 53 years ago, I believe, right?
Oh, boy. Time passes.
Yes, it does. Well, I'm speaking today with the former Marshal of Dodge City, yes, James Arness, who played the role of Matt Dillon on one of the most memorable TV Western series ever from 1955 to 1975. The show was set in Dodge City, Kansas in the 1890s. The series focused on the character of United States Marshal Matt Dillon, and Gunsmoke ran on radio concurrently, I believe, for a few years with the television series, along with the television series like many other programs did during that time, like The Lone Ranger. I think one of the factors that made the program stand out was the ensemble of cast members. Amanda Blake as Miss Kitty Russell, who ran the Long Branch Saloon. Veteran actor Milburn Stone, who played the role of Dr. Galen Doc Adams, and Dennis Weaver as Chester Good, who played the deputy and loyal assistant to Matt Dillon. And then, of course, later on, Ken Curtis was your deputy in that amusing original character role as Festus Hagen. And, of course, Burt Reynolds was a cast member for 3 seasons as Quint Asper the blacksmith.
Yes, that's right.
And I wanted to bring this interesting point up to you, Mr. Arness. You are, at least up to now, the record is, you hold the record for being the tallest actor ever to play a lead role.
Probably so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I used to be 6'7", but I'm kind of bent over now with arthritis, being 85 here.
Yeah, we'll forgive you.
I couldn't ride those horses like I used to.
Yes. So that cast must have been like a second family away from home, when you say, after all those years working with those people.
Well, of course, we're on the reruns on this TV Land.
Right.
I don't know if you get that where you are, but it's on every day, so I can, anytime I want to see a Gunsmoke, I can turn it on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and watch it.
Yeah.
So it's really great. Right. It's wonderful.
And how was the camaraderie with the fellow cast members, even off the set? Were you guys pretty close?
We were extremely close. We were just, it had to be luck or divine providence or something. We just fit together so well and worked off of each other that that's really, I think, what made the show last, because, the shoot 'em up and getting the bad guys and all is one thing, but it was those cast members who were just like a family. And I just love seeing the old shows and seeing those wonderful people. All of them are so great, and it was a great, it was the greatest piece of luck I ever had in my life was getting that show,
In the beginning, the show ran in a half-hour format from 1955 to 61, I see, and from 1961 to 75, it ran the 1-hour-long format. And by 1966, the show was produced in color, which a lot of programs were switching over at that time. And I have seen the colorized episodes from, say, the last 8 or 9 seasons of the show, and I've seen the first 2 seasons, the black and white half-hour versions, which I kind of favored personally over the others because, first of all, to me, it was kind of nice to have a drama done with such excellent script writing and storyline all tied together within a half-hour formatted show. And second, Matt Dillon in those early seasons was always on the ball as far as being able to me, spot a problem or sense trouble before it actually arrived on his doorstep. And he seemed to always have the upper hand or the drop on the bad guy.
Right. Well, of course, the other thing that I haven't really mentioned, which is actually the main thing that made the show great, was, of course, the writing.
Right, yes.
The 2 guys that conceived the whole idea of Gunsmoke and who wrote it and made it work were, really the first responsibility for making the show a success. Like I always said, you just read the words that the other people wrote and hope you can do it well enough.
Right.
But it's the writing that really puts it together. And then having a compatible cast and everything makes it just adds just the, the whipping on the cake.
Sure, right. If you're just joining us here on Country Classics, my special guest this week is Mr. James Arness, the star of TV's longest-running Western series, Gunsmoke, which ran some 20 years, between 1955 and 1975. It was also television's longest-running primetime series with continuing characters. In total, 233 half-hour episodes and 400-hour episodes were filmed. Mr. Arness, was there a permanent outdoor set that was built specifically for the show, or did the production people use an existing set?
Well, actually, our permanent set was on a sound stage at a studio, and that's where the town street was and where so much of the activity took place. And then, especially back in those early years, we could go just outside of Los Angeles, a few miles west, and it was all kinds of wonderful country out there, open country where we could do just about anything we wanted to. So we had it both ways, really.
I see. Another interesting fact referencing your leg wound I mentioned earlier in the interview from action in World War II. In Gunsmoke, Chester Good, played by Dennis Weaver, walks around with one bad peg leg, and we see you. We don't notice a thing wrong with you when you walk. I thought that was kind of ironic.
Right. Well, I could spot it, but over the years, it became a little more obvious that I had a little hitch in my get up there,
Yeah.
And as time went by the time I did my last Gunsmoke show, which was in 1993, and I was stumbling around. I decided I better not try to get in front of a camera anymore. So I haven't. My leg was really bothering me, and I was walking around like you figure, hey, this guy can't be doing this,
Yeah.
But it was a great 20 years, and I still love it and watch them all the time.
Gunsmoke took the #1 rating in the 1957-58 season, a slot it held through 4 more years, although it had some slump years. By the 1967-68 season, it regained space in the Nielsen Top 10, which it held for another 6 years.
My goodness. Well, that's true, and I think that when they finally decided to put it to rest, we were still somewhere in the top 20.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So it just had that lasting power.
It did. After the series ended in 1975, you later were in 5 made-for-television Gunsmoke reunion movies between 1987 and 1994, which you mentioned the last time you got on a horse wasn't for that last one.
2-hour specials.
I see.
And those were good. Those were real good shows.
Right. For your contribution to the television industry, you have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 1751 Vine Street, and in 1981 you were inducted into the Western Performers Hall of Fame at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. In 2006 you were inducted into the Santa Clarita, did I say that right, Walk of Western Stars, and gave a related television interview at that time.
That's very true. It's just wonderful to have that to be with and all. Those are just wonderful rewards, and I'm flying high here for an old guy of 85.
Yes. Well, the second part of the interview, we'll be discussing your favorite charity, you and your wife Janet, and that is United Cerebral Palsy. And a few of those discoveries are brain injury and stroke with babies. Now, Mr. Arness, I know you and your wife Janet would like me and our listeners to know more about your favorite charity, United Cerebral Palsy, and tell us why this charity is so close to you and your wife on a personal basis.
Yes, my wife Janet, I think, is on here. Are you on, Donna?
Yes, I am. Hi, Steve.
Hi there.
My wife Janet, Steve.
Yes.
The reason that we have been so interested in cerebral palsy is because we have a grandson. He's 13 now, and he has a pretty major case of it. He can't walk, and he is in a wheelchair and so forth. So, we're very involved in it and trying to do whatever we can financially we contribute to it as much as we can. And it's really, as you say, something that you wish in this country, and we keep reading things to the effect that there may be future ways that even someone like our grandson might be able to make some kind of progress. I don't know specifically what it is, but they're certainly working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've done a lot of different studies. They've done one at UCLA in the hyperbaric chamber, and you never know with the research that some day it may just break through, but also to help them now, which is so important because our grandson is very intelligent and a wonderful child. So there are opportunities for him and many other people, and by donating and helping with the research and giving to the programs, it sure helps their life.
I see.
And we're proud to be part of it.
And this has been you've been involved with them for some years now, right?
In 1995, we got involved.
I see.
Started Jim's website.
Mm-hmm. And why don't you give our listeners your website address, where they can find that and the information, what we're talking about?
Well, it's just jamesarness.com, and we have a monthly newsletter, and we talk about our lives and our family, and about Gunsmoke and different little tidbits. It's kind of fun, and we have photos up there of the Gunsmoke gang. So it's a great website. We have a great webmaster and a friend, Jenny, who helps us with it. It's really a kind of a community effort to help with United Cerebral Palsy.
Yes, the little guy is so wonderful and beautiful little boy. It touches your heart, and we he's in our thoughts constantly. He and his other brothers and sisters come on. We have them over here at our house often and do things together. And the interesting thing is, one of the interesting things is in the summertime he can jump in the pool, and for some reason or other, of course, he can float and use his upper body pretty well, and he has a great time in that pool, doesn't he, Don?
Well, he does, and also he goes to therapy, and, they have swim therapy, and they have so many horseback riding therapy, but it's great because he can get in the pool with a bicycle and actually ride the bicycle in the pool. So, but the wonderful advancements they're making just in the therapy is so great for these children, and I just hope that we can just do as much as we can to promote the donations, and it's a kind of a disability that people don't hear a whole lot about. So I think by Jim coming out and talking about it is great.
Right. And
I was going to say that kind of connecting it back to Gunsmoke in a way. For 20 years I played Marshal Matt Dillon on Gunsmoke, and I encountered some of the toughest outlaws that roamed the West. But cerebral palsy is one enemy that I can't deal with single-handedly. Without the research and especially the help from people like you who can make a difference, and that's why this gala event they're having here March 30th is so important. And I wanted to thank all of my loyal fans who purchased items from our website. With your help, we can increase our donations to United Cerebral Palsy for research and additional needs. And then don't forget, a portion of all proceeds from my website are donated to United Cerebral Palsy.
That's right, Mr. Arness. That's this Sunday's big gala that's going to take place at the Beverly Hills Hotel in California from 6 p.m. on. They'll have cocktails, dinner, and an auction, and there will also be a presentation of awards. And,
that's wonderful.
And again, your website is www.jamesarness.com for our listeners. You can go there and check out all this information there. And if you would like to donate directly to United Cerebral Palsy Research and Educational Foundation, you please send it to the following address: Dr. Mindy Aisen, AISEN, United Cerebral Palsy, 1660 L Street, Northwest, Washington, D.C., 20036. And she has a website, too, for the research. It's www.ucresearch.org. And you can make your tax-deductible checks payable to United Cerebral Palsy. And if you would, please put UCPREF in the memo of your check, if you can, please. That's great. I hope that this Sunday it turns out to be a great big success for United Cerebral Palsy. And also, all our listeners, I hope that you can help out in some way, any way you can. Well, Mr.
Steve, what you're doing is very wonderful thing to make that known over on the radio that goes around the country, and might help a lot of people realize more about cerebral palsy. And you're doing a wonderful thing there, Steve. Been a pleasure talking.
Thank you. I'm happy to sit down, and I want to thank you especially. I want to thank Ms. Ginny Fazer for helping arrange this interview today, being able to chat with you, Mr. Arness, and talk about this great charity, United Cerebral Palsy. I wish you the best, you and your wife Janet, in the future. We're going to keep watching those reruns in Gunsmoke, that's for sure.
That's great, Steve. It's been wonderful talking to you. I'm so happy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.